We hear talks about big labour shortages in the UK, and the media are even going on about empty shelves this Christmas because there's no lorry drivers, and yet, and of course they blame Brexit for this. They say, well, Brexit has meant that all the EU workers have all gone home. They're all going home. They're going back to Poland for a better life. They don't like it here anymore. It's racist here, and all these things I heard on the BBC. When Brexit, when it was being debated and before the final Brexit day. Yet, and the BBC haven't reported this, but I've found out that almost 5 million people were granted UK residence under the EU settlement scheme. So this is big news, and I'm surprised that the BBC have not been talking about this more, because it's there, and even on a debating show last night it wasn't mentioned when the care industry were there talking about how many people have gone back to the EU, and there was one of the guests on the show saying his builder had gone back to the EU, and the guy he bought the house from had gone back to to Poland, I think it was. So despite warnings of this Brexit mass exodus, of European migrants, it's emerged that, as I said, 5 million people were granted the right to live and work in the UK under what's called the EU settlement scheme so far, according to official estimates. And these are Home Office figures here that reveal that as of the end of June, 4.908, 760,000 EU citizens had been granted immigration status to remain in the country as full freedom of movement in the UK for EU citizens came to a close following the Brexit transition. So previously, EU citizens were allowed to come here and stay more or less as long as they wanted. They had full freedom of movement, and they could live and work in the UK. They could study, they could claim benefits in the UK, as many have. I'm not saying all, but there are a lot of EU citizens that are entitled to benefits, and they can get those. So that came to an end, and now EU citizens will need a work permit to come and work in the UK. Although most European countries that we're involved with, there's visa-free travel to come and go here, but to actually live and work here, they will need permits. How that's going to work, I just don't know, because there'll be a long transition, and I think a lot of EU people will still be coming and going. It's very difficult to track them. But EU citizens, as well as people from Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway and Switzerland, and their families were invited to apply for this EU settlement scheme before the 30th of June deadline. And this was a much easier process than it would have been for migrants from other countries, say from India or the Philippines, where they had to fill out 80, 90-page forms, pay thousands of pounds to settle here, and pay all these extra premiums. They made it very, very easy for EU migrants, and yet people still complain. Now, the quarterly data showed that the Home Office processed 5.5 million applications for settlement by the deadline. Just think about that. That's a credible number. That's 10% almost, getting on for 10% of the UK population, maybe 8%, okay. And they've managed to process these before. And the Home Office got a lot of stick for not being efficient, but 5 million applications. What country can process 5 million applications before the deadline? And this is the highest number of applications. Where do they come from? Polish people, Romanian people, and Italian nationals, surprisingly. I was a bit surprised with Italy, but I know the economy in Italy has taken a bit of a dive. But you only have to go around London and most cities. You'll see EU citizens living and working here happily. So this idea that they're all going to go back home is just utter rubbish. Yes, of course, some people go home. Not everyone wants to stay in the UK, but I've been to some European countries and the economies are suffering. You go to places like Italy and Spain, massive unemployment. Also, there's language barriers. Most people speak English as a second language. If you're going to go and live in Belgium or Germany, and you're starting to learn German and French or Flemish, it's not easy, right? And the economy here is reasonably good. There's jobs here. There's 1 million job vacancies. So things are not as bad as people make out in the UK. I'm probably going to get a lot of stick online for this, as I do, but these are the facts. And the latest figures show that it's a higher than official estimate of how many EU nationals are actually living here, because the Office for National Statistics say that there were 3 million people in mid-2020 3.5 million EU citizens living in the UK, but in fact it turns out that they've processed 5 million applications. So that's much higher than the estimates of EU citizens living here. Now, of course, it's difficult to estimate how many EU citizens are living here because they could come and go through the borders, particularly on the ferries, without, just flash the passport and they're in. So there was no measure of them unless they registered here in some way. But, almost 6 million applications were submitted between the launch of the scheme and in March 2019 and the 30th of June 2021 cut-off. 2.8 million applications were granted settled status, allowing them what's called permanent leave to remain in the UK. A further 2.3 million were granted what's called pre-settled status, meaning that they need to apply after living in the country for 5 years in order to gain permanent residence or indefinite leave to remain in the UK. So they would get that. That would be a formality after 5 years. So it's a bit like having a 5-year work permit, and at the end of that work permit you would apply for settled status or permanent or indefinite leave to remain. And included in this number were also there were nearly 300,000 people from countries like India, Pakistan, Brazil, Philippines, who were given status through their family members or other EU or non-EU European areas would have applied. So there were about 300,000 people in those, but the vast majority of them, over 2 million, were EU citizens in that case that were granted permanent leave to remain, nearly 3 million in fact. So the Home Office said across all nationalities the highest number of applications were received from Polish, Romanians and Italian nationals. This has been the trend throughout the scheme. There were 100,000 applications refused, 109,000, 80,000 withdrawn or void, and 79,000 deemed invalid where the Home Office decides someone is not eligible or failed to provide sufficient proof of residence in the country. And the Home Office said that 8% of the applications were from repeat applicants. So those are the figures there. Oh, among those, 1 million were for children. There were other figures in the UK recently that said that the overall population was declining. But looking at this, there's the population is growing through immigration. In fact, in Western Europe, populations are declining as birth rates fall. That is a fact in the Western world. I think even Elon Musk warned that the world will be in doom if we don't have more children and grow the population. But he is a bit out there, Elon Musk. So some 772,000 applications came from under 18s, finalised by they were granted immigration status, while 32,000 were refused, withdrawn or void. And in London, the borough with the highest number of applications was Newham. That's in East London. And outside London, the highest number came from Birmingham in the West Midlands. And it's not known how many people in the UK are eligible to apply for the scheme, but could remain here undocumented. I think there is a lot of people in the UK undocumented. There's probably 1 million or more people in the UK undocumented or illegal. Let's call them it's illegally here. People who've overstayed or entered the country illegally. But that figure is very difficult to ascertain. In fact, if people get arrested here without proper status, the police just generally let them go because they haven't got the means, they say, to deport people. So it's very rare that people actually get deported here. If they're put into centres to hold them, detention centres, if they haven't got a passport, where do you send them to? They won't tell you anything. And a lot of countries won't accept people back into their country, even if we know where they come from, without a passport. So this thing goes on and on and on, and then people wait for maybe 20 years until they can apply to stay here, or they have a baby here, and that baby then, after so many years, becomes British, or if they marry a British citizen or an EU citizen, as it was in the past, you could get status for the baby, and then as the parent, you're there, you have the right to look after the baby, blah, it goes on and on. So people very rarely actually get deported from the country. And in any case, how would you deport 1 million people? How would you even find them and deport them? It would cost billions of pounds to do that. So anyone who's not yet applied may have lost their immigration status, their official immigration status, but the government is giving them a bit of a period of a grace period, if you like, that they may still apply if there's a valid reason for not applying. So you've still got a chance, but you've really got to get your act together now. I think most people who wanted to stay have applied and have stayed, so that's good news for them. And anyone who does not, anyone doesn't just ignores it, will eventually could face enforcement action. Let's see what happens. And most people coming in newly to the UK from these EU countries will need a work permit to live and work in the UK. And the care industry is saying that they have lost EU workers. And I've heard from inside information that a lot of EU workers have gone home because they don't want to take the vaccine. It's nothing to do with Brexit. It's because the care industry has ruled that anyone who works in the care industry must have a vaccine. It's an enforced vaccine. And they've got until November to have this vaccine unless they're exempt in some way. Otherwise, they'll be sacked. So a lot of people say, well, I'm off. I'm either going to get a job in the supermarkets, in Tesco's, in the stores where there are jobs, or they've gone home to their country of origin. So that's what the problem is there. I don't think it's down to Brexit, but the care industry still needs staff. I think the best carers and the best nurses I've seen come from outside the EU. If you get nurses and care workers from the Philippines or India, they tend to stay in the job. Well, they have to with a work permit anyway. Unlike, say, a Spanish worker that says, I don't like this job, I'm going here, I'm going there. I'm going to go and work in Starbucks, better pay, clean job, blah, blah, blah. But when I was in recruitment and I recruited thousands of nurses and carers from overseas in countries mainly like the Philippines, the workers here came, they stayed, they became managers, they settled here, they did very, very, very well. And those are the people we need, but the government will not make it easy for care homes to get work permits for them. They have to register. It's such a palaver now that a lot of them are not bothering. So if they bring that scheme back, I think we could solve the shortage of care workers and nurses. If we make it easier for them to come into the UK on a work permit, I think we could solve that problem. Even nurses, it's very, very difficult to come in as a nurse now. You still can come into the UK on a work permit, but you have to jump through far more hoops than you did before. And of course the language requirement is quite high as well. But that could be solved. So now there is 1 million job vacancies in the UK, including a big shortage of lorry drivers, builders, and much of which has been blamed on Brexit. However, the latest Home Office figures would appear to contradict this claim. The mainstream media keep going on about the fact that there'll be empty shelves in the supermarkets at Christmas. We must get these lorry drivers. But the main problem with lorry drivers is that a lot of them are retiring. It's not particularly well paid. It's hard work. It's long hours. It's not necessarily safe work in many ways. It's hard to get a heavy goods vehicle lorry driving test. That's the reason why there's a bit of a shortage. But I don't think it's down to Brexit. And the fact is, I see a lot of lorries still on the road. Everywhere you go, if I step out my door now, I'm probably going to be run over by a delivery van or a lorry thundering past my street. The motorways are clogged up with lorries, and you can't move for delivery drivers. People don't even want to go out to the shops anymore. They want to just order everything on Amazon or from Tesco home delivery. I don't know why people don't want it. Are they frightened to go out? But everywhere you look, there are delivery vans buzzing around everywhere. So there's plenty of drivers around, maybe not the heavy goods vehicle. But the final thoughts on this is that, if our food is coming in from abroad, which most of it is, okay, surely they would be delivered by lorry drivers from that country from where it's been sent. British drivers don't go to these countries to pick the stuff up. They send it here. So if you get Spanish tomatoes or lettuce grown in the Netherlands under these big greenhouses, or you get food from Portugal or whatever it is, or French wine and French cheese, that is delivered by French lorries. That's why when I'm on the motorway, I'm being pushed around by German and French lorries and Polish lorries and Romanian lorries. They're all over the place. They're tearing up our roads. So why would a British lorry driver shortage affect food coming in from those countries when they send the lorries in themselves from their own country? They send their own delivery drivers to deliver them here. So it's just all a lot of nonsense and scaremongering. If you go to the supermarket today, there's plenty of stuff to buy. There's no shortage. If you want to order your turkey now for Christmas, do so. You might get one. But I wouldn't panic buy into this. I certainly wouldn't panic buy. There'll be plenty of food around. There always has been, always will be. Other trending news then is this thing about China. We know that China has denounced this AUKUS, AU-KUS pact between the UK, US and Australia, and other countries might come into it. This is apparently to keep peace in the region, in the Indo-Pacific region. We know that China has been aggressive in the past. We know that they've occupied islands in the Philippines. We know that they've virtually taken over the Philippines, and they've occupied other places in Vietnam and built man-made islands in the sea to create bases. We know that China's been aggressive. That's why, now they're denouncing it as aggressive. But I think we have to do something. And had the Philippines not closed down the bases in America, that was Aquino. She closed the President Aquino, the female Aquino that was president many years ago. She went a bit left-wing, closed all the bases down and kicked the Americans. We're going to get rid of the Americans out of Subic Bay. We're going to get rid of the Americans out of Clark Air Base. What good did it do? It sucked billions out of the economy, sucked jobs out of the economy, and now it's destabilised the region. Because China would never have occupied an island in the Philippines had there been American bases there and warships there. No way. And so Aquino's got a lot to answer for this. The Aquino family has got a lot to answer for this as to why they withdrew the bases out of the Philippines. That's my political bit for today. But the other problem with China is that their economy is largely based on property growth. And the government is worried about the amount of money that the banks have in debt to property companies. And this is why they've asked the banks to pull back. And one of the biggest property companies in the world is now facing bankruptcy. They're on the brink of collapse. It might not happen, we don't know. But if it did happen, if that company collapsed, it could bring down, some of the banks in China, the bond markets in China, and it could be a domino effect for the worldwide property market if that market collapses. Because we know that Chinese companies are buying properties all over the world. We know that they're buying, flats and condos by the floor load in the Philippines, and they're buying everywhere in Australia. They're buying up stuff in Auckland and in Canada and in the UK. So what happens if that bubble bursts? I mean, at the moment they say it's hissing at the moment. But if that bubble bursts, then that could be serious problems for the rest of the world. If you want to look up the company that's involved, it's a company. I forgot the name of the company now, but it's Evergrande. Yeah, Evergrande. Well, I don't know if they'll still be so grand after this, but apparently they owe something like 300 billion in debt, and they've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of projects all over China in like 200 different cities. So they're a major player in the property market. But I read something else, that the property prices in China are falling and that the economy is slowing down. Now, we shouldn't gloat over this, because if the Chinese economy slows down, just like if the American economy slows down, it's bad news for the rest of the world. And, the old saying that, when America sneezes, the rest of the world catches a cold. Remember that one? Well, it's similar. China is the second largest economy in the world. They consume a lot of stuff. So if their economy slows down, it's not good news for the rest of the world. Other trending news: higher prices. Inflation has hit 3.2% in the UK. It's also gone up in America. It's gone up in Germany. That means if inflation's at 3% and you're getting next to 0% on your savings, the value of your money is going down by 3% every year. So in years to come, the value of your money will go way down if it's just sitting there in the bank. So what do people do about it? Well, you need to think about how you invest the money. How can you invest for growth? But if you put your money into the stock market, that is risky at the moment, because the markets are at an all-time high. The stock market in America are at double the GDP of the country, the value of the stock market, which it shouldn't be that high. Earnings to price to earnings ratio, PE ratios are massively well over 50 on average. So it's not a good time to pile your money into stocks and shares. I think at the moment I'm watching to see what happens. Property market is at an all-time high as well. Do you want to go out and buy more property at the moment? I would be cautious unless you can get a really good deal. Now, business has changed in the last couple of years, as we know, and I would call this a new world order. Currencies are changing. They're trying to phase out cash. Digital currencies seem to be on the way. I know that Bitcoin has been accepted in places like El Salvador, but I'm not sure that the governments of the world and the world banks are going to allow Bitcoin to take over the governments and the Federal Reserves and the Bank of England and the EU central banks' control over money. Bitcoin's fine, but I don't think it's going to become the major dominant currency. But countries will have their digital currencies rolling out. China's already done so. I think Sweden has as well. And that means that they will be able to trace every penny you spend, where you spend it, every penny you earn, every dollar, dime that you get. It will be watched over by the central banks and the government. So the new world order is here. And if you're in business, you need to change. You need to adapt to the new world order. Otherwise, like thousands of small businesses, you'll go out of business. But look at bigger companies, big store groups like Gap, Debenhams, out. They're finished. Many others in the UK and in the States. So what do you do? What can you do to take advantage of these changes rather than worrying and just hoping that things will go back to normal? Because things are not going back to normal. Look at the travel industry. Look at some of these industries that are in trouble, as opposed to industries that are trading online that are doing very, very well. Amazon, for instance, gone up by trillions of dollars, billions of dollars. Jeff Bezos' wealth has gone up by billions just in the last year, as is Zuckerberg, Elon Musk. But what can you do to get yourself into shape and cope with this new world order and cope with the new changes? Well, look, businesses that have adapted are thriving, and businesses that are not are dying. So can you make money online? Can you make money on social media? Well, you can, and you probably are right now. If you're on social media right now, you're making money for someone else, not for you. You're making money, but not for you. You're clicking on ads, you're buying stuff, you're doing this, you're doing that. You're making money for somebody, right? You're making money for Facebook ads, you're making money for Google ads, you're making money for the company that you've clicked on. So look, what can you do so that you could make money as well on social media instead of just making money for other people? We can all learn how to use social media. I think it's not that difficult, but you can also learn how to make money on social media. So what I want you to do is to stop wasting time on social media and start making money instead. And one of my mentors is a guy called Paul O'Mahony from Ireland. Nice guy, written a book, I think it's about 350 pages, called Rethink Social Media. And this is a book about making money on social media instead of wasting time on social media. Now, instead of ordering the book and buying it and probably never reading it, you can look at a webinar that he is running right now. You can go on and click on my link below and join a free web class where he'll explain all about how you can stop wasting time on social media and start making money on social media. Now you can learn how to use your time that you're already spending there, because we know that as soon as people wake up, they're on the phone, they're looking, they're doing it on the bus, on the train, even on a date, they're still looking on their phone. They're not even looking at the person opposite them. On a date, you see couples on a date and they're looking at their phones. They even bring them into the bathrooms. So we know that people are spending time on social media, but what I want you to be able to do is to start making money on social media so that when you look at your phone, you're thinking, how much money have I made today? Wouldn't that be wonderful? Wouldn't it be wonderful to look at your phone or your laptop or your tablet and say, look, how much money have I made today? How much stuff have I sold today? What money is coming in? Then you wouldn't have to worry about the New World Order. You're part of it. Now, you could be someone that has a product that you sell already, but you don't know how to sell it online. And I don't mean just going on Facebook and saying, look at this dress, buy this dress. That's not the way to sell online, or just going on Facebook and say, buy this, would you like to buy this? People don't go onto Facebook to buy stuff. They go onto Facebook and other social media to become entertained and to learn and to find things. So you've got to give people what they want, not just try and flog them stuff online. But if you don't have a product, you can also do this because you can sell other people's products as an affiliate. And you can get these for nothing, and you don't need your own website. You don't even need a budget to buy stuff. So in this free web class that Paul is running, You'll learn, I would say watch this if you have a business or you want to be in business, but you don't want to quit your job and take that big risk of starting a physical business, or you're just tired of wasting your time on social media and want to start making money instead. So stop wasting time on social media, and except when you're watching me and learning stuff, right? But click on the link below that I put there and watch the free web class. You've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. Thanks very much for listening, and have a great day wherever you are. Have a great weekend. Thanks for everyone joining me on Facebook Live. Jacqueline there, hi, nice to see you, great to see you. Please click the like button, share this post so you give lots of free stuff and free information for everyone else. And for everyone else watching now or later or on my YouTube channel, please don't forget to click the like button and share the free information and the free content I'm giving to people. But do click on the link and start learning how to, not instead of wasting time on social media, how to make money on social media. I wish you a great day and thanks for listening. Bye for now.